Here at Waiting to Be Seen, I have a playlist. I have a series of videos that I call Back to Basics, and it is exactly what it says on the box. They are videos that talk about the basics of video and videography and all that kind of good stuff. And so in today's Back to Basics video, I'm just going to be talking about stabilization and why it's important to choose the right kind of stabilization for the work that we're doing as videographers. What's up everyone, it is Shane here at Waiting to Be Seen, and I want to welcome you to today's Back to Basics video. Like I said at the top, I have done a series of videos just talking through some of the basics for videography. So today I am talking about ball heads and fluid heads and the difference between the two of them. Because if you are just getting started, it's really important that you pick the right tool for the job. And there are times and places where you'll want to use one over the other. So let's dive right on in. The first of these two tripod heads that I want to talk about is the one that the DSLR is sitting on, and it is called a ball head. The reason why is because it's a ball inside a socket that just rolls around. It's very much like a ball, and then in order to stop it from being all flippy floppy, you use something a little bit like this. Not all models are exactly the same, but they're pretty much similar. It basically just uses friction, and now it is stable like this camera is. I am very confident that that is not going to move anywhere at all because I have applied the friction to that ball head mount. Now if I just lift this up a little bit so you get a bit of a closer view, the reason why you would want to choose a ball head mount over a fluid head mount, and I'll break down that in a minute, is predominantly because you are someone who is taking photos. This is a very, very popular head choice for photography, and the reason is because once you undo that friction, it is incredibly quick to be able to position into a different spot, tighten it off, and away you go. You can get it into position. Let's turn this around. Let's say you were trying to get some night shots or something like that. You can get it, tighten it off, it is ready to go. And then if you've got a quick release button, a bulb button that is attached to the camera, you can press and hold. You're not going to get any camera shake because it is nice, it's stable, and it just works. It's less effective if you are doing the same thing for video. Not always, but a lot of the time we actually want to have some motion in our video. So this video today would work perfectly well actually if it was on a ball head, because my camera is not moving anywhere, and that's perfectly fine. The only issue is that a ball head, generally speaking, isn't going to take a lot of weight, and let's say I wanted to get up and move over there. There's movement, there's a lot more movement obviously when you're on video, panning and tilting being the two main movements that we do in tripod. So having a ball head is good if you're going to have a static shot for video, but generally speaking, you're not going to see these on set if you are filming in any kind of corporate or professional kind of situation. The exception to that, I will say, is for vlogging. I think that the ball head is a bit of a mainstay for vloggers because they will use a Joby GorillaPod or something along those lines, and then they will have the ball head attached to the top of that, and that way they can, once they undo this, they can rotate that up a little bit like so, and then lock it off, and then they walk around doing these ones. I'm sure you've seen them, Peter McKinnon's and Casey Neistat's and the ilk. There is a place for it. I'm just saying that by and large, you're not going to use a ball head mount when you're using video. So let me put this aside for a minute. This is then a fluid head mount. The reason why it's called a fluid head mount is because there's actually fluid inside the head. Isn't that mind-blowing? This tripod, if memory serves correctly, is something like $2,000, $2,200. It's not a tripod that you're going to go out and buy if you're just making YouTube content sitting down with a DSLR and you're in your bedroom. You're just setting it up on a little tripod. That's going to be fine. set up like this is probably going to do perfectly well. This, on the other hand, is expensive because it has so many moving parts. It's providing us with resistance inside the mechanism. It's very complex. There's a lot of stuff going on inside this part of the tripod head, and with a few little clicks we're able to change how this actually behaves with us. So as an example, I've just turned this unit, and this is a Miller tripod with a Miller head. Look at this. There is pretty much zero resistance to that, and yet the movement is entirely smooth. It's because it's got fluid in this section that is causing the machinations to behave that way. And so you could get fairly smooth panning even with zero resistance applied. Personally, when I'm using a fluid head, I actually like to have some resistance. Now, maybe not all the way to, in this instance, number 3 is maximum resistance, but now you can see it's a little bit more, well, it's a lot more effort, but it's still incredibly smooth. And I'm just using a single finger to be able to create that smooth panning motion. And that is 100% why, as a videographer, you would want to have a fluid head versus a ball head. You're not going to be able to get that. You just can't. The physics of a ball head will not allow you to be able to do that. If you were just panning, then maybe the pan head version of one of these might be okay, but even then the smoothness isn't going to be the same. You want to have something that's going to give you nice, smooth panning. And for those who don't know, panning means left and right. As I said, this is a back to basics video, so don't want to just overwhelm you with jargon. Now, the same thing is true with the up and down motion, or the tilt. So if I unlock the tilt, that is on a resistance of 3. Generally speaking, when I'm using a fluid head, I will use the tilt on maximum resistance. Having the ability to control the resistance of both the panning and the tilting is really, really fantastic. That's one of the reasons why they use this. And so, you know what, on that note, I'm actually going to finish up for today. I've introduced you in today's Back to Basics video the 2 different types of tripod heads, and it's important to know what they are, mainly because they are tools, and you're going to want to use the right tool for the job. It's like everything else in the creative field and the video field. You're really not going to want to turn up with one of these if you are contracted to do some sports shooting, for example. You'll want to have something like this. Maybe not the $2,000 one. Maybe you can find a fluid head that is cheap, and there's definitely cheap knockoffs. This is like industry standard kind of branding, so don't feel like you have to have a Miller or a Vinton or a Manfrotto. You can, if you're just starting out, get a cheap one, but upgrade. Don't stick with the cheap rubbish for too long. Definitely get good quality stabilization. It's important. But there are places that you will be able to use this. Again, thinking of the vlogging example, you would use a ball head on a Joby GorillaPod while you're walking down the street. You're not going to use one of these in that situation. So they are both tools. Ball head, fluid head, whatever the case may be for you, choose the right tool for the job that you're working on. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you have enjoyed today's video, then hey, I have a whole series of Back to Basics videos that you can check out. I have tutorials and tips, tricks, hacks. I have a couple of unboxings. I have a couple of review videos as well. My channel is just, it's a space where I am paying forward stuff that I have learned as a content creator for a number of years now. And so if any of that sounds like it might be of interest to you, I'd love to have you on board for the journey. Consider subscribing to the channel. You just have to click on that big red subscribe button down below, click on the notification bell right alongside that, and YouTube, they will do the rest, letting you know as soon as my latest content has dropped. And I really, really would love to have you on board for that journey. I hope you have a fantastic Friday. If you're in Sydney, man, You have all of my feels because I'm with you, not just in spirit, but I'm actually with you. Oh, lockdown, it really does suck. Screw you, COVID, you're such a jerk. Anyway, I digress. Have a fantastic Friday. Have a great, great weekend. Have a brilliant week to come. And I really look forward to seeing you in my next video. See you later, guys. Bye.
That's gonna leave a mark. What?